Okay. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the CAL FIRE Office of the State Fire Marshal's NERIS webinar series. My name is Kara Garrett and I will be available for any technical assistance during this webinar. This webinar will last about an hour and will be recorded and posted to our website with a slide deck after the webinar concludes. Please type any questions into the Q&A portion of your screen, and after the presentation, we will be holding a question and answer session. Should you encounter any issues, please give me a call at 916-201-5539. This is also in the chat, or send me an email at kara.garrett@fire.ca.gov. I will now turn it over to Chief Mike Morlan, who will be sharing more information about the National Emergency Response Information System. Take it away, Chief.
Great, and hello everyone, and welcome back. My name is Mike Morlan, Deputy Chief with CAL FIRE, and I lead the CalStats program, the team behind fire incident reporting in California. This is it, our final NERIS webinar before the transition window opens in just 15 days. Whether you're a fire chief, a records manager, a data analyst, or just a person making sure every incident gets reported, you are part of this moment. Our goal isn't just to get California ready, it's to lead the nation in how we make the switch. Now, for anyone new to our webinar series, when you hear RMS, that's your records management system, the engine where every incident story begins. But today isn't about definitions, it's about evolution. It's about smarter response, real-time insights, and better decisions powered by better data. So let's get started. Before we get rolling, I want to set the stage for today. We're now just days away from California's official transition to NERIS, the start of a new era in how we capture, analyze, and use our fire data. We're no longer talking about what NERIS is, we're talking about what comes next. The transition window is officially opening and California is stepping into the future of fire data. This is the moment where planning becomes action, where we move from learning about NERIS to actually living it. Today's session is all about the transition. We'll turn this into a mini town hall, bringing together voices from across California who have already made the switch, along with our RMS partners you've heard from throughout the year. We'll also hear directly from the NERIS development team to share what they are seeing across the country and what we should expect as we go live in November. And because this is just the beginning, we're preparing to launch California NERIS Open Office Days, a space for departments to get one-on-one help, ask questions, and share feedback as the system evolves beyond the rollout. This is your chance to be a part of the evolution, not just the transition. Our goal is simple, to make sure every department has the right tools, the better data, the right data, and the right mindset to lead California into this next generation of reporting. So let's dive in. NERIS onboarding has been moving fast and with purpose across the country. So let's look back at where we started. It all began in January, just after the launch, when the very first department out of South Dakota submitted live incidents directly into NERIS. By February, third-party RMS vendors earned their version 1 compatibility badges, unlocking the first real connections between local systems and NERIS. Then in April, a metro department in Virginia became the first to successfully submit incidents through a fully integrated RMS API, proving that the connected data flow works. Momentum built quickly from there. In May, Region 2, led by New York and New Jersey, transitioned onboarding over 1,800 departments in a single day. June brought Region 4, July brought Region 6, 3 FEMA regions now fully engaged. August pushed NERIS into the heartland, with Region 7 onboarding departments across Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri. And just last month, Region 3 joined from the Mid-Atlantic, bringing thousands of more agencies online. Now the momentum is shifting west. Regions 1 and 10, from Maine's rocky coastlines to Alaska's rugged frontier, are coming online this month, completing the bookends of the nation. Which leaves us with California, FEMA Region 9, along with Region 8, and now Region 5, up next month in November. Our advantage? We've had a front row seat to watch it all unfold. We've seen what's worked, what didn't, and we've learned from every state that went before us. Now it's our turn to take those lessons and make California's onboarding the most seamless and most successful in the country. It's hard to believe we're finally here. I've been honored to serve on the NERIS technical panel alongside data-driven partners from across the country. It doesn't feel that long ago that I was sitting in the first major meeting in Dallas, Texas, hearing how NERIS would transform the future of fire data reporting. And now, here we are, just days away from California's turn to take the plunge. On the vendor side, collaboration has been outstanding. 29 RMS vendors have now earned their NERIS 1 compatibility badge, and many of them are already sending live data into the system. Together, they've contributed nearly 247,000 records so far. Out of more than 16,000 departments that have joined NERIS to date, over 1,600 are actively submitting incidents, and another 4,500 have confirmed or verified their profiles. There's still work ahead, but when you step back and take a look at how far this project has come and how fast, it's nothing short of impressive. Every region that's gone before us has helped shape what's next. And now that momentum leads straight here to California as we prepare to go live in November. We've talked about where we're headed, but this is where we are right now. You're looking at is a live NERIS national onboarding dashboard, an actual real-time view of the departments across the country connected to the system. Every state shaded in blue represents departments that have already onboarded and actively reporting. The darker the blue, the higher percentage of agencies that have made the switch. Over on the right, you'll see the current count. 1,680 departments actively reporting incidents into NERIS as of this morning. And that number keeps rising literally every time I check it. The dashboard refreshes every 4 hours, so what you're seeing here isn't a snapshot, it's a live pulse of NERIS across the nation. Below that, the pie chart tells another story. It shows how many departments have confirmed their data, how many are unconfirmed, and those who have onboarded but haven't yet started submitting incidents. Altogether, it's a reminder that this isn't a future concept anymore. It's happening right now, and we're next in line to join it. What's really powerful is we can already see what the NERIS data is beginning to reveal, even before California joins in. When you look at the data and the breakdown on the left, you can see that nearly 60% of incidents are medical in nature. Probably not a surprise, right? And followed by public service and fire-related calls. On the right, the heat map shows something we've never had the national lens on before, the busiest times of day and weeks across the entire country. You can start to see national patterns emerge when our firefighters are rolling out the door, most often coast to coast. And this is just the beginning. Imagine what these insights will look like once California's data, your data, starts populating the system. The larger and more complete the data set becomes, the smarter the system gets, giving us better visibility, stronger analytics, and a clearer picture of risk and response across every community. I showed you this at our last webinar, and here it is again, now updated with the latest numbers. What you're looking at represents nearly 840 California departments getting ready to make the transition to NERIS. Up top, you'll see 12 departments already verified in the system, with another 17 that have started onboarding but haven't yet completed their verification. And below that, this is where it gets exciting. You'll see the 6 departments that have already been reporting live incidents directly into NERIS. Each one of these early adopters is helping us test, validate, and refine the process before the full statewide rollout next month. Together, they've already submitted over 10,000 incidents, giving us our first real-time glimpse of California's data inside the national system. This isn't theory anymore, it's happening. Every department represented here is part of California's leadership in this transition, paving the way for a smoother, smarter, and more connected future for all of us. It's one thing to talk about near real-time insights. It's another to see them happening in front of you. What you're looking at here is live California NERIS data coming directly from the 6 early adopter departments already reporting into the system. On the left, those numbers represent more than 10,600 incidents and over 13,700 unit responses, all flowing automatically from their RMS into NERIS. The pie chart shows that nearly 70% of incidents are medicals, which won't surprise anyone in this room. It's a clear snapshot of the work we do every day. On the top right, you can see the incident count climbing week after week. That spike you see is the momentum from our early adopters since May. And below, the hour by day heat map gives us an instant view of when our departments are busiest across the entire state in real time. Every dot on the map represents an incident reported by California firefighters. Every update is happening automatically, without delay, without manual uploads. This is what near real-time visibility looks like, and this is where California is headed. Now let's take a few minutes to spotlight how this transition looks from the vendor side, the backbone that's helping connect California's data to the national NERIS system. Over the past year, we've had the privilege of featuring one RMS vendor at a time in each of our webinars. But today, we're bringing them all back together as one team to help prepare you for what's ahead. These are innovators who made the first successful integrations with NERIS possible, and they're the same partners that will help some of your departments make a smooth transition once the window opens. So please join me in welcoming Tammy Mills from ImageTrend, Bill Gardner from ESO, and Jesse Rubio from First Do. Thank you all for joining us again. Did everyone make it on today? I see Bill.
Tammy's here.
Hey, Chief, thank you for having us.
Perfect. Thank you. Again, thank you for all for joining us and for everything you've done to support this rollout. Let's start off with a quick round of questions that I think everyone in California is eager to hear answered. So in terms of readiness, and this is to all of you, are you ready to support departments that choose to transition in November? And I'll go ahead and start since I see you first, Jesse.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to pass it off to someone from our NERIS team, Chris French. So, Chris, I will let you kick it off, my friend.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, welcome. Yes, we are very excited for everybody in California to be joining us in the NERIS environment. We currently have transitioned across the country 558 of our customers to NERIS, and we have actually worked with a handful of the early adopters in California and already are submitting data over. So we've sent just shy of 120,000 NERIS reports over to the team at NERIS, and we've already started to see some impressive trends in data quality improvement and things like that. So we're ready and very excited.
Well, thank you. How about you, Bill?
Absolutely. Chief, thanks for having us again. It's good to see everybody. We're excited. This has been a long-term project for us, and it's nice to see it coming to fruition as we go across the country. We have turned on a little over 4,000 of our customers, enabled them in the system. We're ready. We've been submitting for a while and have that. I think the number one thing that we've seen that excites me was there were certain goals when we set out to do NERIS. When Dr. Morlan said what she wanted to do with this, and FSR, I got the contract. We were going to make data cleaner and quicker. Chris has mentioned that we're seeing that, but we were going to make it easier on the firefighters. And as of today, with the NERIS product and the ones we've been submitting, the average time for submission is 3 minutes and 42 seconds. Of accurate data. That's what this goal was about. That's what every vendor up here set out to meet these goals. Doesn't matter who you work for, that's what it was. And from the states, that's what y'all needed, was real-time visibility on that. And I think that's been the most exciting part so far for us. So we're ready. We're excited for people. We are going to continue, and we've started planning for Schema 2. That's the thing I want to remind everybody is this is step one. The other schema is out, the other sets are out for us to continue to all be compliant, continue to submit this data and continue to do these things, because that's where we're going to get better and more data. The other thing I saw the other day too that really excited me was standardized reporting on rescue. And we've never been able to answer that question in this country. How many rescues are done by the U.S. Fire Service? That's going to be amazing to be able to put that statistic out there and show what we're doing. So thanks, Chief.
Thank you. And Tammy, over to you on that question.
Image Trend is going to be ready for any of our clients who are ready to onboard in November. We've completed our API integration development so that data can begin to flow as soon as you are set up and ready to go. We're excited to make that change, and super excited that it's going to be an easier process to get your data at the national and state and national levels.
Great. I knew you guys were ready. I mean, we've been working with you from the beginning, so appreciate that. And so how about in terms of what to expect, and I'll give this over to you, Bill, is what should departments anticipate in those first few weeks after go live?
I think we have to realize one is we've moved everyone's cheese, as the old saying goes. We've moved everything for them. The piece of it is the codes that we've had for years in the fire service around incident types, actions have changed. So make sure that when you're doing your training, you're preparing for the people. The first couple of weeks it's going to take them a second, because they actually get to call a mid-rise fire. They don't have to look for a different code. They get to talk about actions and then help guide them through that. I know all the vendors here have provided information and guides. We're wrapping up a nationwide live training program that we're doing. So just be prepared for that when your reviewers are for the first couple of weeks. We saw this, but really after the first couple of weeks, it cleaned up. And then make sure, please make sure that your data that you've gone in, you've registered, your FDID that you previously have is a new number. Get that plugged into your system and do that today. I know, Mike, you've been telling them that for months.
Yeah.
But yeah, just please go do that today so you're ready for this to move forward.
Awesome. And this next one will be in terms of advice. So Jesse, I'll start with you. What's your biggest tip for departments preparing to make the switch?
Chris, I'm gonna turn that over to you, my friend.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry.
I think the biggest advice that we have is don't wait, don't delay. There's a lot of people that are very nervous about this, and it is a big change. The fire service hasn't changed reporting since paper, so we're making some big strides here. There's a lot of people that still are a little concerned about it, so they're pushing it off. But really don't wait. Let's get in as early as we can. Get everything set up like Bill said. It's nothing to be afraid of. There's a lot of people on all vendor sides and at FSRI that are excited for this and are there and willing to help. So do not wait. Is that practice early from a first due perspective in particular. It's not a huge change. It's just our industry is not really great at change. So the biggest thing is just get with your vendor and go ahead and start making preparations for those steps. Don't wait until the holidays to make this decision.
Awesome. And Tammy, the same question to you.
Yeah, I would say the biggest change they're going to see is the data standard, the new questions, the new options for those questions. So start digging into the FSRI NERIS documentations and learn that ahead of time so that you can start training your end users on how that you expect that data entry to be done. And then if you will start early and test a lot before you get ready to actually go live, then you'll have a very successful transition. Our UI hasn't changed, again, to the point. We don't like change in the fire service, so we tried to make that as simple as possible. There's quite a bit of configuration, but as we transition in, but on the end user, there's not that going to be that much difference other than the new data standard. So test, test, test. That's my favorite phrase right now. Test everything.
I agree. And then one of, we get a lot of questions here at CAL FIRE from departments out there, and they have a lot of questions, and they may have an RMS that they're working with. So we try to, tell them, go talk to your RMS first. They should be able to help you. And so I'll ask this to you, Tammy, as well as where should they go first if they need help or run into an issue? Because we have been telling them to go to for those departments that have an RMS, I've been telling them to go to their RMS and handle it with them before they come ask us for support, even though we are always here for everyone, or before they even go to the NERIS folks.
Yeah. For us, our support team is up to speed on all things NERIS, and we're making sure that they have the information they need to quickly and adequate or accurately answer any of the questions our clients have. So I would say absolutely start with that. Well, actually, before you even do that, I would encourage you to go to our Help University. That is where we're publishing all things NERIS. We're about to publish an updated FAQ. We have some checklist on there that's more of a step-by-step guide of do these things in this order in these places. And if you'll follow those, you should have a pretty easy transition. But our support team is always there to help when you have those extra questions that you don't find answers to there.
Awesome. And then my last question for the group is looking ahead, and I'm going to ask this to everyone. I'll start with you, Bill, is what's next on your roadmap once the transition window officially opens? So maybe looking past to January 1st.
Absolutely. The roadmap, couple of things we know we want to continue to make sure we do is we take Schema 2 and get it put into the system in Q1 of the first part of the year to start that submission and reporting, which has the fire analytics, has the increased community risk reduction data, all the new things that are rolling out from UL-FSRI. We want to make sure that's part of that, so we get that data going early on, that wouldn't just as we go, and that this is going to be an ongoing tool. So we're focused on that. The second part is we're going to have a stronger integration component around health and safety with making sure that the NERIS data integrates and continues feeding with the National Firefighter Registry, that we can help as vendors support that UL-FSRI doesn't have the ability to do totally because of personal records and some of those information. And so we're going to continue to do that. And then the next piece is leveraging some newer technology around devices and getting away from the way entry is done. We're all approaching that. We're all using AI, and sometimes that's a dirty word, sometimes it's not. Depends on who you're talking to that day. But leveraging a lot of things, we've partnered with some major folks around the globe, and you'll start seeing device management being used more and more that we don't even have to touch.
Okay, sounds awesome. What about you, Jesse and Chris?
Yeah, for us, at first too, there's not a lot that we expect to change once the window opens in November. For our end users, we've got a handful of the early adopters from California that are utilizing it, but there's not a tremendous change for us. The look, feel, the day-to-day operations is the same. Immediate result that we're excited to see is we're going to start, as Bill mentioned earlier, documenting incidents correctly. You can now respond to a motor vehicle crash that the car catch on fire and still be able to report this. So we're excited about that. We have a heavy AI initiative that we're excited to actually incorporate into this and get everybody in and watch the data grow and be able to report on a lot of this stuff. And kind of like one of the big things for us as we finish out the end of the year is we've created like a fast track tool for these agencies that make the decision. Hey, today I want to start my testing, and we're putting the power of that in their hands without having to contact our support team. Our support team's been amazing throughout the process, but we want to have a chief really have the power to sit there and say, I want to engage in this. I'm excited to do this, and I want to do it. And I want to do it right now. And it doesn't matter if it's 9 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock in the morning. So beyond that, that finishes out the rest of the year, and we're excited to see where version 2 goes. Bill hit the nail on the head that it's this is just the beginning, and it's really exciting to see where we're going to progress to.
Awesome. Tammy, to you on that?
Yeah, I would echo what Bill and Chris have said that moving into the new year, secondary schemas are coming, version 2 coming. We'll be keeping up with all of those and new, better ways of documentation out in the field, and just keeping up with where NERIS goes and enhancing our product and our user experience with new tools and new exciting things. So more to come.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank all of you for being on with us today, and don't go too far because we're going to bring you back at the end for just a few thoughts before we wrap up. Okay. Now, as we move from the vendor side to the field, let's turn our focus to California's early adopters. The department's already reporting directly into NERIS and leading the way for the rest of the state. I want to take a moment to recognize the departments who have officially stepped forward as California's NERIS early adopters, not just because they were eager, but because their timing, readiness, and partnerships lined up perfectly with the national rollout plan. Over the past few months, we've continued to see this list grow as more RMS vendors come online and more agencies begin to make decisions about their future reporting platforms. We're working closely with the NERIS development team. We've helped align these departments, provide technical support, and integrate them into the early adoption phase of this transition. As of today, 31 California departments have been nominated as early adopters. In just the past 30 days, that list expanded to include Ventura County Fire Department, City of Newman Fire Department, San Diego Fire Rescue Department, Stanislaus County Fire Ward. And among those early adopters, 6 departments are already reporting live data into NERIS, and that's Modesto Fire Department, City of Fountain Valley Fire Department, City of Red Bluff Fire Department, Stanislaus Consolidated Fire Protection District, Turlock Fire and Emergency Services, and Chicken Ranch Fire Department. These departments are leading the way, testing integrations, validating data, and helping us strengthen California's pathway ahead. Each one of these early adopters represents real collaboration between the state, the vendors, and the national NERIS team. So with that, let's hear directly from a few of them about their experience so far, what's worked, and what's next as we move towards November. As we move closer to California's official launch in NERIS, I want to take a moment to highlight a few of the departments that were first in the state to take the leap and are already reporting live into the system. Each one of these agencies stepped forward early, not because they had to, but because they saw the value of shaping this transition from the ground up. Starting in Northern California, the City of Red Bluff Fire Department has long been a strong cooperator with CAL FIRE, and their leadership as an early adopter is helping pave the way for others. Representing Red Bluff today is Division Chief Justin Kingsley, a lifelong resident, former CAL FIRE firefighter, and now a powerful voice for innovation in the fire service. Also joining us is Chief Amy New from the Chicken Ranch Fire Department, serving the Chicken Ranch Rancheria of Miwok Indians and the Motherlode area of Tuolumne County. They're one of the California's newest departments and one of the most forward-thinking when it comes to technology and data-driven readiness. And from the San Joaquin Valley, we're proud to welcome Chief Kane Packwood of the Turlock Fire Department. Turlock, alongside Modesto Fire and Stanislaus Consolidated, has faced some of the state's most complex fire challenges over the last few years and continues to lead in regional coordination and mutual aid across Stanislaus County. Now they're leading again, this time into the future of fire data reporting. So thank you all for being here and stepping forward as part of California's first wave into NERIS. So let's jump right in with a few questions, and I'll start with Chief Packwood with first impressions. What's your biggest adjustment moving from NFIRS to NERIS?
Well, we were fortunate enough to not only move to a new RMS, but a new CAD system and new devices. So we did a full platform of all technology change all at one time.
Wow.
And I say fortunate because there was so much movement. One thing just added to the other, and the tertiary effects were really easy to sell at that point. That we have to go this route if we're going to make any real progress. So once we got the whole, all three agencies in Stanislaus County, it's Modesto, Stanislaus Consolidated, and Turlock. We all operate under one administrative umbrella. So once we started to move all the three agencies in that direction, and had that momentum, that momentum, that inertia helped us just to make this change across the board. I will say that some of the biggest challenges or the initial feedback we got was from old timers like myself who had pretty much memorized the NFIRS codes, and I knew that I was going to go to a 321 and add a 419 and do a 32. When we put it in front of our guys, we had a little bit of trepidation with that, but they adopted very quickly. I've had nothing but positive feedback. We use a third-party vendor, and all the vendors have done an amazing job of making it seamless. And I mean, with all the changes we've had and have almost no negative feedback has been amazing. I work on the backside of the program a lot, and seeing already being able to truly capture PSAP times, being able to look at what did the call come in as to what did it finally develop to, and utilize that in real time to put in front of our constituents has been amazing. It's been a pretty seamless process, and overall, I couldn't say enough about where we are with NERIS and the new stuff that we're starting to see.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. What about you, Chief Neal? Your first impressions. What's been the biggest adjustment moving?
There we go.
And
Yeah, so my camera's on this screen, but I'm looking at this one, so I apologize.
No
You're going to see the
worries.
side of my face on this one. So Chicken Ranch Fire Department is brand new. I've been working with the Tribal Council for the last 3 years to stand up their own fire department. We just opened our doors August 6th was our first day. So it didn't make sense to start in an old system when we were opening up the department. So we wanted to go ahead and start with the NERIS with the best technology that we had to when we opened the doors. I would say pretty close to what Chief Packwood said. The biggest thing is those codes. Everyone's used to the codes. So that made it a little bit difficult of a transition, but our third-party vendor was able to send us all the information we needed, and we printed those out for the types of calls now. So everyone can at least follow along and start typing in those keywords. Some things have changed, like I said, difficulty breathing, it's breathing problems. So depending on how you start typing that in, it'll pull up the menu for you. It's a pretty simple task going through the process of the technology that we're using to fill out the reports. Probably some of the changes might be to add a few additional codes. There's not really a cancellation code so that you don't have to fill out some additional information, but that might just be in the third-party vendor that needs to be corrected. And then I think there are a couple of codes that I couldn't find that I'm not sure if they're part of the vendor as well, or actually NERIS, which is like vehicle versus pedestrian. So just a couple of that might be missing that we need to add in there, but it has been seamless. Everybody, I was actually QAing some of the reports while you guys were talking, just looking through the system of what we've done. I think we're up to 60 some odd calls now in our first 60 days. So it's a little bit of a slow start, but we're picking up momentum, unfortunately, and getting a lot more calls coming in. But it has been, again, probably the biggest thing would be those codes. It's just going to take a little bit of a learning curve for everyone to know that it's now spelled out instead of just picking and choosing from a drop down on the codes. So
okay, that's great. How about Chief Kingsley? Over to you on that question.
First and foremost, Chief Morlan, thank you for having me and appreciate it. I was set to be a presenter previously, and unfortunately, California's wildfire season does not discriminate. So happy to
Yeah,
be here today.
no problem. Thank you.
Like the other chiefs have said, we were in a very similar situation. We had a total change of platform. And it was quite honestly easier to take the leap and go head first and see how the whole system worked. But one thing for us is that, like the others had said, I believe it was Tammy that had mentioned that the biggest change or the biggest problem in the fire service is change and things that stay the same. So when you change to a totally new concept, it is difficult, but it's very easy. This seems to be more of a common sense approach, which I can appreciate wholeheartedly. But if I were to give it an example, it would be like going from 10 code to clear text. We're always going from, like Chief said, the 321s, the 419s. So it's much more clear text and more user friendly for our guys, especially our new firefighters coming in. They get to kind of see the new product. But for us, it's been a very seamless process, and we're excited to be one of the early contributors.
Okay, that's a good analogy. I like that. 10 codes to clear text. Understandable, relatable. And I'll stay with you in terms of because I think each one of you kind of touched on challenges, but what about wins? What's worked well for your agency since starting with NERIS?
For us, I will say a big win is being able to capture accurate data and use those for grant submissions, for justifications for positions, for really just capturing that data in real time and being able to transfer that onto something more applicable in council meetings and so forth. So that has been a big win for us, as we've been able to really accurately capture data.
Okay, awesome. And what about going back to you, Chief New? What would be your wins so far for your agency?
Kinsley touched right on it. I've already been successful in securing a grant with the data that we've had already. So that was a huge win for us. I think, again, not having to wait the quarters to be able to submit the data and then get that analyzed. Our next month meeting we have will be our first quarter. And so I am having the exact calls that we go on. I like the fact that we can start off with the difficulty breathing, but then it turns into CPR in progress, and we can make those adjustments and be able to track the calls as they progress, starting off with, a room and contents fire, and then it goes into, the whole house or whatever the case may be. It's just a lot nicer to have that detailed information to pull from for the data forward. So those are some really big wins that I see, and they're just very helpful on tracking what exact kind of calls we're going to.
Okay. And going back to you, Chief Packwood, I'm going to ask you something else. Is thinking about training and buy-in. How did you get your personnel comfortable with the change?
Well, we told them that they didn't have much of a choice. I mean,
that always helps, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, this was coming one way or the other. So there was so much change. We really showed them how it was an easier process, and we put it in front of them. With our organization, it's difficult to get everybody in front of anything. So it takes us about 6 days of solid planning, solid workflow to get every engine company through a 2-hour training. But we did that. We put everybody through a 2-hour training on both this and our new PCR platform, because we changed that as well. It seemed logical, as if they weren't going through enough change. But once we started to show them the data points that we were going to get and how that was going to benefit them, some of the questions that we get from the county or that we get from the LEMSA require, like, how many calls did you go on where there was a transient occupancy involvement or psychological involvement or behavioral involvement, which is one of the new ones, or an intercept. So these are inherent codes that are already part of NERIS, instead of having to build that out, where you had more diversity. Instead of just going to a 321, it's now in the fire report that it's a medical call of this nature. So it was a little bit deeper, and then we could show them how, by gathering that data on the front side, we could then put in for those grants or put in fill those requests by any one of our 7 or 8 boards that we have across our organization. So once we're able to show them that value, that they bought in fairly quickly and actually they're asking some of those questions on how many calls did we go on that were psychological in nature and that we staged, or whatever the case is. So we showed them the value of the data that they were inputting, and we had a lot of buy-in very quickly, more than I anticipated.
Okay. And I'll ask that same question to you, Chief Kingsley. You get a lot of sighs and grumblings when you told your personnel you were changing systems?
Well, like I mentioned before, the two enemies of the fire service are change and things that stay the same. So anything new is you get a little bit of pushback. But for us, again, it was an easy transition. This is coming. We need to learn the system. And it was a fairly easy process with our vendor. They were very patient with us and helping to explain a lot of the different transitions. So it really was an easy process for us.
Awesome. And then I'm going to ask each one of you, and I'll start with you, Chief New, is in terms of advice. So what's one tip you'd give agencies that are about to make this transition this next month?
I would say print out the list of the calls ahead of time, and take the time to train with each shift and each station, just so they get familiar with that, because the codes is probably the codes going away is that biggest change, and that's the biggest pushback we had in our small department. And that's probably going to be the same across the country. But I would just say educating them on the reason for the data, of having better data that is clearer for all of us to utilize, and being able to change those calls. It's numerous times where it's not just an EMS call, it's something else, that you can now tag into that. We all know that the information that the dispatchers get aren't always what it is when we arrive on scene. So being able to change that on the fly, that we were dispatched to this, it just makes it so much better for the information that we're getting and the actual calls that we're running. We can better equip our personnel with the trainings that they need, the equipment that they need for the type of calls that we're actually running. With the Chicken Ranch, we have a 9-story casino and resort, and has numerous elevators. And so the big thing right now is we've probably had about 15 elevator rescues since we've opened. It's just something that we've got to get the elevators fixed, but it was a big, tracking for us of, we need better equipment for these elevators until we can get them to stop trapping people inside. And so we worked through that, but being able to have that information to take to the tribal council to say, hey, here's one of the biggest issues right here. We need the proper equipment to be able to go in and get these people out quickly and safely. It was just it was a no-brainer, easy sell, and the equipment was purchased the very next day. So it's just kind of nice to have that information and be able to give that to the troops as well, so that they know that they're going to get covered with the best equipment they need, depending on the type of calls that we're experiencing. So
that's amazing.
It was a good one.
And Chief Packwood?
For advice, get in and read and really dig in deep to what those call types are, and really walk through the whole program, because we have a lot of questions. There's some new questions that are in there. One of the questions is people present. It's just a simple question of, was there people present or not? But I had a lot of feedback of, well, what do they mean? Was it, are you asking, were they doing CPR? Were they rendering? Did they cause the fire? It's just people present. So, but it took a little bit to get to that. And it really just takes that time to dig in deep. Aid provided, mutual aid versus auto aid, and that ongoing discussion that's happened, that's a completely different field now. So get in, understand it. There's the third one in that line about provided under contract. What does that really mean, and how does that apply to you? Figure that out and dig in deep so you can answer those questions. And the other advice I would have is on your call types, it's okay to have a secondary and a tertiary call type. Our guys feel like well, I only got one before. It was either a 321 or it was a 311, or it was now it's okay. You can say that you went to a medical call that also ended up being a hazmat, that also ended up being a intercept, whatever that is. you're not, you don't have to pick the best code. Pick what's appropriate for you, but it's okay to have more than one. And I still get feedback. I still get emails on, well, I chose 2, Chief. I'm like, it's okay. You choose 3. It'll help us get a better idea of what's going on. But that was the immediate feedback I got. Other than that, I mean, it's been a great system, and I'm really excited to see what the next 4 or 5 years on what our data comes back on what our KPI really is.
Yeah. What about you, Chief Kingsley? Advice?
Wow, Chief Packwood and Chief New really hit it on the head. Quite honestly, it is just taking a deep dive into the new values and really getting your crews acquainted to the new concept. And just being able to capture that accurate data really does help gain a lot of different things within our agency specifically. So just doing a deep dive into the new concept was the best advice that I could really give, because it is a total change.
Okay. Well, a huge thank you to all of you for leading the way and sharing your experience with us today. We know it's not easy being first, but you're helping shape the future for every department that follows. So thank you again. Now, don't go too far. We're going to keep this conversation going as we bring back our RMS partners and the NERIS development team to help close out today's session. But first, let's go over the onboarding phases real quick. So California fire departments will be invited to transition to NERIS on Monday, November 3rd of next month. Your fire department may transition anytime between November 3rd and January 1st of 2026. However, all fire departments must be transitioned to NERIS by January 1st of 2026. CAL FIRE, along with the NERIS team, will be here to support you through the process. And now remember, NERIS onboarding isn't a flip of the switch event. It happens in 2 deliberate phases. So phase 1, connect. Set up your department's core profile in NERIS, staffing, apparatus, deployment models, service areas. This is the foundation. Phase 2, report. Once that's in place, begin live reporting either through the NERIS collection app or by connecting your RMS vendor. The goal is to launch clean and avoid issues down the road, because once you go live, there's no going back to NFIRS. Now let's bring back the RMS vendors and our California early adopter departments. And to tie in all together, I'm thrilled to introduce one of the most influential voices guiding NERIS at the national level. Please join me in welcoming Craig Weinschenk from the Fire Safety Research Institute, FSRI, and part of the UL Research Institutes, where he serves as Director of Research. Craig has been instrumental in the national rollout of NERIS, from early development and testing to analyzing lessons learned through the first wave of state transitions. He's seen the system evolve from concept to implementation, understanding both the challenges and the incredible opportunities that come with a transformation of this scale. Craig, thank you for being here. I know you're a busy man and a self-proclaimed, I like to call, out of the office enthusiast. So we really appreciate you joining us today as California prepares to make this transition in just a few weeks. So Craig, hello, how are you doing? And are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I see you now. So to start us off, could you walk us through what departments in California can expect once November 3rd hits? Will they receive, what would they receive from NERIS, and what happens behind the scenes during the initial onboarding phase?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we initially kind of built and seeded the system, we did our best to grab department information from a ton of publicly available sources. So there's a good chance we may already have your stations in your department. We may already have your department boundary, but part of signing in is making sure that information is correct. And we've been working closely with you and your team at CAL FIRE. And so on November 3rd, I think we've got everything scheduled for 9 a.m. Pacific time, so local time 9 a.m. You'll start to get every department that we already have contact information for that's been provided by CAL FIRE. We will be sending out emails from our systems to every known user from, or the either the primary or secondary users provided by the state will get 2 emails from us. One of them is attaching them to their department. So you'll get an email that says, hey, you've been added to X, Y, or Z department. Then the second email that will come from us will be your temporary credentials. And so we use email as username. So the email that you received your temporary credentials from is the email you use to sign in. You'll get initially that 15-digit password. So we use 15-digit passwords with email MFA. You'll change your password to whatever you want that's at least 15 characters. And then you'll get a 6-digit code email to you to confirm you have access to the email address you're trying to log into. Once you're signed in, then you can start to self-manage your department. You can update your information. Again, I would coordinate with, if you use a third-party vendor, I would coordinate with them they have some best practices that they use in terms of transitioning departments. So make sure you're following their laid out plans in terms of adding what information to add in the profile or what they're going to send over automatically. Then confirm your boundaries correct. If not, we have geospatial folks on our staff, and we'll work with you to get those updated. The nice thing is California does have a really nice geospatial layer already, so it's going to be very easy if we do have something incorrect, is to coordinate with the state to update those boundaries. And then once you're all the way through, at the bottom of your department profile, there is a box in the user interface to confirm that your data is accurate. I like to think of it as similar to a banking, you sign into your bank every year and they tell you, hey, you've got to confirm that your email is correct and your mailing address, all that kind of stuff. That's exactly what this is. There's a little checkbox at the bottom of the page to confirm your information is correct. And then we're probably going to open that box up probably once a year for departments to come through and just reconfirm that everything in the platform is still accurate, so that we can ensure that the layer and all the entity information in NERIS becomes an authoritative layer nationwide.
Okay, great. And then for the our RMS vendors that are on, Bill, Tammy, and Jesse, from the vendor side, what final steps should agencies be doing? Should agencies be double checking in their RMS before they go live on November 3rd? And Bill, I'll start with you.
Absolutely. One is they will have completed and made sure all their information that they've gotten from Craig and his team with their information is there and that they're set into the NERIS system. Then they can go in to the admin portal of the ESO product. And there's a couple of little booleans in there that talk about NERIS, and you can turn those on. There's one specific boolean in there that says you're ready to submit. Just like you talked about, Mike. Don't turn that on until you're ready to go, because you can't do both.
Yeah.
But we set that up so they could practice, they could play, they could have their people test it, use it, give everyone the rights to it they want them to have in the admin. And then when you're ready to go as the administrator, turn that on and you'll be submitting your NERIS reports.
Okay. And Jesse, anything on the first due side?
I'm sure he's going to handle it to me, so I'll just jump in. So, one of the things that we encourage our customers to do is very similar to what Bill said, is communicate with us, get everything taken care of on Craig's side, and then come talk to us. We have a test environment that you can jump into and tinker around and practice with the workflows, develop additional workflows. That's a perfect place to prepare for that transition. And then after that, just contact our team and let us know when you're ready to go full speed ahead.
Okay. And Tammy, from the image trend side.
Sure. So in the Help University, there's going to be instructions on everything that you'll need to know. And I point you there mainly because we have different kinds of systems that depends on who's the site owner, who's the system administrator, are you an agency on a system that's owned by someone else? And all of those different site configurations have slightly different needs and who will perform that. And all that'll be clearly defined in the Help University. But if you have any questions on that or to help you set up your export, please reach out to our support team. There is a little bit of work there, but you don't have to wait for anything. We also have your test environment. Again, what that looks like depends on the type of site you're on, but work with your system administrator for that system level guidance and for their transition plan. But everything can be turned on and start testing now. And I encourage you to get started. The sooner the better. Test, 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 and you'll have a successful go live.
Okay, awesome. So now, Craig, you've seen multiple FEMA regions already making this leap. So what are some of the biggest lessons learned or success stories that California can benefit from as we prepare to join?
I think one of the first success stories, or maybe one that didn't occur in the first region, is we now have self-service password management. When we send out the initial credentials, they expire in 28 days. When you have a month that's 31 days, a lot of people wait till the end of the calendar month to sign in, especially back in May, June, July. And so then we got so much influx of help desk tickets about their password being expired. And so not only does our password reset support, if you forgot your password, it will re-engage if you have let your initial credentials expire. So that was a very hard lesson learned. We had that deployed late this summer, and that was a game changer for my own personal sanity. The other one is working with states that are engaged and with the vendor community that is so engaged. We wouldn't be here without both parties. That has made the transition far easier than I would have ever guessed. Having a good relationship between the state fire marshal's office and the local departments within the state, webinars like this has been tremendous. And the vendor community, I mean, we were asked a ton to build this system in the timeline that we had. And we asked the same of the vendor community, and everyone stepped up. It's been remarkable how good that the community has been across the board, and without them, we're not here. So I think that also being in the time window you're in California in November, having the vendors all in a really good space themselves, because they're no longer having to develop alongside of onboarding and things like that, certainly has made things a lot easier. This last wave across the board has gone really well, which is why we've been able to move the December departments up into November, right? We recognize that no one wanted to onboard in December. We weren't, somebody had to go in December, right? When we set this infrastructure up back in January and February. Yeah. But all along, we were working hard behind the scenes to build our infrastructure from an onboarding perspective and our processes to invite thousands of departments in a day. So we're probably going to invite around 6,000 departments on November 3rd, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and really credit to yourself and your team for inviting those vendors in on those early meetings and getting them to start looking at everything. I think that was tremendous help for them and for all of us. So. And then for the early adopters that are on, Chief Kingsley, I'll start with you. What was there anything that surprised you once the departments actually started reporting into NERIS?
I would say what surprised me is how quickly you get that data, how quickly we're able to capture that live data. I was not expecting that. That was quite the surprise for me.
And what about you, Chief Packwood?
The biggest surprise I had with the transition was more relative to our third-party vendor and how we rolled things out. If I could give any advice, it was don't hesitate to mandate fields. What I received back from the guys were, how come there's not more fields mandated? I don't feel like I'm doing reports. It's only taken me 3 minutes. And they wanted that reassurance that if it's not red, they can go to bed. And so if there's anything there, throw a few more red fields in them to give them some affirmation.
Okay. And Chief New?
Sorry, there we go. Lots of buttons to push. I don't know. I think that there's maybe just a few things missing of types of calls that we need to have put in. Like I said, I don't see vehicle versus pedestrian. And anything that I'm looking up above because that's where I have all the lists printed out. Or like just general pain. There's back pain, but there's not hip pain. I don't know. I think there's a few things missing that we just probably need to get cleaned up and added to the language on here that would help immensely.
Okay. Well, in essence of time, I'm going to jump forward a little bit. Thank you, Craig, and a huge thank you again to all of our vendors and early adopters for joining in today's conversation. This kind of collaboration, really from the national level all the way down to our local departments, is what is going to make California's transition not just smooth, but successful. So before we close out, I'll share a few key reminders and next steps for everyone preparing for the November window. So before we wrap up, let's talk about something that deserves your full attention, and that's the NFIRS end of watch and decommissioning is coming. It isn't a slow fade into the sunset. It's a hard shutdown with a locked door. And here's the bottom line. If your 2025 incidents aren't closed out before the deadline, they're not going in, period. So let's go over some of the key dates your department needs to hit so you don't end up scrambling at the last minute. So remember, 2025, we've been saying this all year, is a hybrid year. Once your department transitions to NERIS, you stop submitting to NFIRS entirely, no double entry. And January 1st, 2026 is the shutoff. NFIRS stops accepting new submissions. From that point forward, everything flows through NERIS. January 31st, 2026 is the final edit deadline. The system officially locks, no edits, no corrections, no extensions. For CAL FIRE, this is a massive lift, hundreds of thousands of incidents across hundreds of stations, but this message applies to every agency here today. Don't wait until the end of the year. Don't assume someone else is going to take care of it, and start closing your NFIRS reports now. The only way we can make a clean transition without losing our data, our history, or our credibility is if we all act decisively. NERIS represents the future, but NFIRS is still our responsibility until it's the final day of service. With that, before we wrap up, let's talk about how you can stay ahead of the curve as we reach our transition phase with NERIS. So first, visit the NERIS FAQ page. That's where you'll find answers straight from the U.S. Fire Administration and FSRI, what's changing, why it matters, and how this transition will work. Second, sign up for the NERIS email list. That's the fastest way you'll start getting updates on new features, training sessions, and rollout milestones. While you're there, check out the video library. They built a great collection of short, easy to follow trainings to help your department get ready. And third, stay connected with the CAL FIRE CalStats team. And we'll continue to provide California specific guidance, key dates, and next steps as we move into November. We made it simple. Just scan the QR codes on the screen. One links to the FSRI website, one takes you to the NERIS video library, and one brings you directly to our CalStats resource page. NERIS is here. Make sure you've got the information you need when you need it. But before we close, I want to open it up for just a few minutes. Are there any questions, any go to the order, or comments from anyone joining us today? And this is your opportunity to bring forward anything on your mind: onboarding, vendor readiness, data reporting, or timelines. Kara, if you could take a quick look for me at the Zoom chat and see if there are any questions coming in.
Absolutely. We did have a few that were just to the hosts and panelists, but for the Q&A portion, I do see 5 open questions, so we will focus on those. So I'm seeing, is there also a link to guidance on entering the unit NERIS IDs from Chris Douglas? I don't know if this was answered.
Craig, can you help us out with that one? The NERIS unit IDs?
Sure. So when units are added to NERIS, they get assigned a unit ID from our API. Now I know there's also, we do have a field, so if you have, for vendors that have their own unit IDs from a unique identifier, that field is also active in the API, so it can be sent to be synced across platforms. And then as far as the designations, we have two fields primarily. So you can, if you have an engine or maybe a medic unit that might be an EMT or then sometimes a paramedic unit, you can have two designations for those units, right, based on how they're dispatched. And I would call them what they are. So that's the common name. What is it appears in your CAD? Is it E1, ENG1, Engine 1, things like that. So we have kind of the common name that you would see for running analytics, and then a unique identifier to prevent unit duplication.
And they should be getting that information when they get their email and whatnot also, right?
Yeah, and then in the user interface, you'll see it's much easier to kind of process when you see it and touch it. And also that the vendors do a great job of updating your stations and units as part of their support of the system. So it's I wouldn't worry too much about it. They if you have that loaded into your RMS, they will send that over via the API.
Okay.
Thank you. And then one more question. I see my department on the list you provided of California agencies. Which email will be sent to the link to register?
It should be the one we have updated. We've been updating those, so they should have the right one. It should be going to whoever your NERIS data lead was identified for or as.
Thank you. That is it for the outstanding Q&A box. Does anyone have any questions? Who's an attendee? If you do, please raise your hand. Okay, not seeing any hands, Chief.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So on behalf of the Office of State Fire Marshal, the CalStats team and partners at USFA, FSRI, and the RMS vendors, thank you for joining us and for being part of California's data evolution. I want to give one last special thanks to everyone who participated in our webinar series, our early adopters, our RMS vendors, and the NERIS team, including Tom Jenkins and Craig Weinschenk, for your continued partnership and support. And finally, I can't thank my own CalStats team enough for their hard work every day and making sure not only CAL FIRE, but every fire department in California is NERIS ready and set up for success, and for Kara Garrett for helping us get these webinars off the ground. Thank you very much. So be on the lookout for a CalStats alert about our upcoming open office days. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything as we move into this next chapter. So Kara, with that, that's all I have. Back to you.
Thank you, Chief. I put the link into the chat as well for everyone attending for where this webinar will be held. So it will be on our osfm.fire.ca.gov and our resources section under webinars. So please access it there. We will be posting it hopefully by the end of the day today with the PowerPoint slides. So thank you all so much. Have a good rest of your day. We will end now.
Thank you.
Thank you.